Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It's your Wednesday night uncensored, unfiltered, and unafraid sports show. You still up? This episode of Buffalo After Dark starts now. Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is actually Thursday night, May 11th, of course. I'm here. Bob's here. How's it going?
I am fantastic. I am feeling a lot better than I did last week.
Yeah, you went through some pretty nasty pain on the show last week.
I did, and a deal's a deal.
Yep, fair enough. But yeah, you downed it, so it's all good, man. And same on my end too. So, and really with that, we're going to cut right to the chase because big thing, of course, everyone wants to know about the NFL schedule. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show. We're going to get right into the NHL, though, because we do want to talk about the playoffs and also talk about the draft lottery. So if you want to jump in and join us, 929-205-6099 gets you on the air to talk with both of us. We'll be here for the next hour. And, of course, we have the Facebook Live chat open. So, of course, the NHL Playoffs, round 2. There's been some pretty interesting matchups that have gone on and pretty interesting games so far, but the biggest one I want to talk about first, how did Toronto survive against Florida?
I guess they thought, well, we don't want to get embarrassed and become the biggest meme since the Boston Bruins, so let's just go to Florida and win Game 4. So I'm thinking to myself, Florida has pretty much outplayed Toronto for the majority of the series. And then it's just like, well, the Leafs just decided they just wanted to play one game where they were at least capable of making a comeback. And now, all of a sudden, all these delusional Leafs fans think that they're going to somehow make a comeback and complete a reverse sweep. Not a fucking chance that's going to happen.
I gotta say, Florida is playing a lot better than I would have ever thought that they'd be playing at this time. I
agree.
I would have never thought they would have gotten past Boston. That happened, which has to be one of the biggest upsets I've seen in recent history. I mean, for a team to win 65 games and lose to the Florida Panthers that could barely even make the playoffs. I mean, come on.
Well, I still to this day, I know it's like almost a week or two old, but it's like, how the fuck did the Panthers, how the fuck did they even get past the Bruins in the first place?
Yeah, that's what I would love to know, because honestly, Florida looked like they weren't even in it, let alone like the first 2 games. And I'm like, how did this happen? Now, I will say goaltending was a little suspect for Boston towards the end. Their defense didn't seem to hold up as well towards the end. But at the same time, you win 65 games, that's something, but there you go. The President's Trophy curse.
Yeah, and a lot of people were like, and I even said it on the show last week, I said at some point I felt the Bruins were going to choke. I even said it, but not in the first round.
Right. I would have never thought that would have happened. But, I mean, props to Florida for, playing as well as they are right now. And of course, they're going to be playing tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens. But speaking of games that are going on right now, the Devils and Carolina are tied at 1 in the second period. So, and, of course, Seattle and Dallas will be the late game tonight, starting at 9:30. But Carolina and New Jersey, like I say, New Jersey Devils, where the hell is your defense? Because your defense looks like ass and your goaltending looks like ass because you have no defense.
And you know what it is, though, Tom? I've said this since the beginning of the playoffs. I said Vegas and I said the Devils in the finals. And in the beginning of the second round, I was so confident. I was 90% sure the Devils were going to walk away with this series. And now each game has pretty much been a blowout. Game 1 was a blowout. Game 2 was a blowout. Game 3 was a blowout. Game 4 was a blowout. Game 5 is probably going to be the closest game right now since it's tied at 1. And for all I know, I could very well jinx it. But it's just, I don't know. I was very high on the Devils this year, but I'm just extremely disappointed in them in the second round. They played a great Game 3. I will give them that. But outside of that, though, they looked like absolute shit. And the Hurricanes have just put their stamp on their legacy for this year, and they're gonna steamroll the Devils. And it's just plain and simple.
Yeah, Game 4 was brutal for Jersey.
Yeah, and Andy's convinced, we should go and get David Severson. Fuck that. David Severson could suck my dick. That guy wants to be paid $5 to $7 million, if not more, to get a long-term deal just to be average. And and I'm trying to tell Andy, don't get Damon Svierson. The dude is ass. No,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a solid defenseman. Then you have not once watched the Devils game. And I can tell you for a fact that watching him over time, because I get the Devils, Rangers, and Islanders down here,
Mm-hmm.
I catch a good number of Devils games, and every time I watch Damon Svierson, he turns the puck over every single time. He's just a ginger version of Tyler Myers.
Oh God, yeah. And good old Tyler Myers, he was supposed to be the next big thing, and he was a total flop after his rookie season. So we saw what happened with him. But good Lord, Schmidt and Vanacek just played brutal this series so far.
Yeah, it's no, the Devils, they just piss me off, and there's just no going back at this point. If they lose tonight, it's over.
Oh yeah, by far. I mean, there's no other way to look at it.
Yeah.
But who would have thought? Now Seattle got their ass handed to them in the first couple games of the series against Dallas, but they came back and they're tied 2-2. I mean, but I will say Dallas has been totally outplaying them. So I don't know if Seattle's going to make it or not, but Dallas just looks really good right now against them.
You know what's funny? That series is so up and down for me. Like one game, Seattle looks great. Another game, Dallas looks great. It's very back and forth. And I feel like it's going to go 7. And I've said Seattle. And if you remember when we did the second round predictions, I said the Kraken at 7.
Yeah, yeah, you did. And I'm trying to think. I was thinking Seattle in 6, but the way they're playing right now, I think it probably will have to go to distance at this point.
I don't know. I'm not sold on it going 7 games unless they win tonight and it's tonight. If they win tonight and then they win in Dallas on Saturday, that's the only. I'm sorry. If they win tonight in Dallas and then they go back to Seattle for game 6 and they win it there, that will be right there, your prediction. But if it's even after that game on Saturday, then it's gonna go 7. And again, my prediction would be like on target if Seattle wins that game.
Yeah, and one of the things that's helping Seattle right now, Grubauer is playing as good as he can at this point. I mean, in the games that Seattle's lost, is just their defense has been absolutely brutal. But the problem is they're letting Dallas get like a million shots on them. It's like you can't be losing the shots on goal contest like 4-1. It's like, come on.
Yeah, the Kraken's defense is like a revolving door. It's just like you can't just have Carson Soucy as your best defenseman going forward. You can't, because if you look at the Kraken's roster, the majority of the guys on defense are below average. Like Will Borgen is a guy they have. Carson Soucy is another guy that they have. A lot of their big names come from the offensive side of the puck. Like you have Jordan Eberle, Yanni Gord, Jaden Schwartz, and then you have Brandon Tanev.
Yep.
Yeah, did I say Yanni Gord?
Yeah, you did say Yanni Gord.
I did. Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Oh, and of course Oliver Bjornstrad, who got traded on my wedding. Yeah, imagine that. The day of my fucking wedding, the Kraken trade for Oliver Bjornstrad from Columbus.
Good move for the Kraken on that. But I mean, right? You look at the defense. I mean,
and Jared McCann.
Yeah, exactly. It's really the only other guy you have is Vince Dunn.
But
and you can't just be throwing every on them. You have multiple lines to work with.
Yeah, and if Seattle wants to go far next year, you have to address defense because you can't win the Stanley Cup with just Carson Dunn. You need 2 top 4 defensemen. I mean, the Sabres have the need 1, 3.
Yeah, exactly. You only have 1 right now. So that being said, that's an interesting at that. And then of course last night Edmonton just beat the shit out of Vegas.
That series is going to go 7, guarantee you.
That's been a fun series. And of course, now it gets interesting because Draisaitl got suspended for a game.
Draisaitl got suspended?
Did you see the hit?
I'm pretty sure it was Darnell Nurse who got suspended.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking Draisaitl, but
No, it's not Draisaitl. I was gonna say Leon Draisaitl didn't do anything wrong, but so yeah, not only is Darnell Nurse being suspended, but
Pietrangelo might be out too.
Yeah, it was already confirmed, but like 5 minutes before we recorded that Alex Pietrangelo is getting suspended for 1 game for his illegal hit.
Yep. So both teams down 1.
I felt like with this series can go the distance. And if you remember, again, I said Vegas and New Jersey for the Cup. But if Vegas wins and they beat Edmonton, I think they're going to be the favorites to come out of the West.
They very well could be.
And on paper, the Knights should be able to beat the Oilers because let's face the music here. The only thing that gets keep out Edmonton relevant is McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah. And the problem with Edmonton, they don't have the strongest defense in the world, and they definitely do not have the strongest goaltending.
But their power play is a different story.
Yeah, one of the best.
If not the best.
Yeah. So they do have that going for them, which is all well and good, and you will need that during the playoffs. But at the same time, it's one of those things where Vegas can still take people out in so many different ways. So it just really comes down to who's going to be the team that performs in the towards the end, really, is what it's going to come down to.
I agree. And I predicted Seattle, and I predicted Vegas, and I predicted Florida in 7, and I predicted New Jersey in 6. But that's clearly not going to happen unless the Devils win like 2. Oh, and they just scored! Just as I say it.
There you go.
2-1 Devils. Timo Meier just scored.
Nice. That was a good. That was a good pickup down the stretch.
Now all they got to do is just sign him because he's gonna come. He's not gonna come cheap. That's for sure.
Right. Of course. So that'll be an interesting thing to see as it goes forward and how everything plays out. But that's what we're working with. So of course, it's gonna, anything can happen at this point during the series, but. That's going to be fun. But what we'll do next is we want to spend a little bit of time talking about this whole draft lottery because...
Oh, my God.
We all saw it. We watched it. We are not surprised at what ultimately happened. Hell, ESPN screwed it up with the freaking asterisk on the screen at number 3. But everybody knows, and a lot of the speculation, that the draft is rigged like it is every year. And, of course, Connor Bedard, it's probably about a 99% chance he's going to the Chicago Blackhawks. And go figure, big market team, of course. Oh, hey, you guys tanked so bad. You guys traded Patrick Kane. You guys are not bringing back Jonathan Taves. Let's get Connor Bedard. And you have no team to build around him. Hell, Anaheim would have been a much better choice.
First of all, I want to just clear this up, because I have a lot to say about this. Number one, the way this was set up for Chicago won the lottery. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the fact that the Blackhawks were just good almost a decade ago. It's what happened 2 years ago that killed the vibe of this pick. If there was no allegations about sexual assault towards Kyle Beach,
mm-hmm.
or basically how the Blackhawks just swept us under the rug, and Joe Quenneville knowing about it, Stan Bowman knowing about it, and then Taves and Kane knowing about it, and Duncan Keith knowing all about it, that's fucking disgusting.
Right.
And the fact that, if you compare that to like other scandals, just for example, when the Coyotes had to forfeit draft picks, if I remember correctly, where they were doing pre-measurements of scoutings of players before the draft, that's illegal. You can't do that.
Well, right.
And the Coyotes got fined of that. The Devils with Ilya Kovalchuk, if you remember, he signed that massive 15-year deal.
Yeah, and it got voided.
Yeah, and it got voided 1 year after the deal because he, quote-unquote, wanted to make more money in Russia. And the Devils had to forfeit picks for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The Chicago Blackhawks with the sexual assault case on Kyle Beach, And then that got exposed during the time of the expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken.
Yep.
And when we all saw that, we all agreed that was disgusting.
Yep,
That
and
was
Joe Quenneville lost his job.
That was despicable. So that whole assault case in general completely ruins the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks as a whole. It's the equivalent to when the Houston Astros in 2019 were exposed for using the cheating scandal for the 2017 World Series when they beat the Dodgers. So it's similar in a way, but it's not the same, if that makes any sense.
Right.
But the thing that really disgusts me the most is not only did the Blackhawks players at the time know about it, but they didn't say a fucking word about it. And it was, in quote, they cared more about winning a championship or winning a cup more than sexual assault cases. That right there is incredibly selfish, because at that point, the NHL is basically gift wrapping the Blackhawks a generational talent just to be their baby. This is the equivalent to when Pittsburgh got Crosby, or when Edmonton got McDavid, or when the Capitals got Ovechkin. And then now look at the Blackhawks. You go from one dynasty to potentially another with Bedard. You have a 17-year-old, a minor of all people, that's going to an organization with the shittiest reputation. And you think that kid is thinking to himself, hopefully I don't get shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that did come out. That was out within, 3 hours of the draft?
Really? He said that, though?
Well, I mean, it was showing up on several sites. Now, I don't know if it was a meme, but it did show up on a few different spots.
Well... Well, I mean, I get the idea. It's not the fans' fault. The fans have no intention for this whatsoever. I'm happy for the fans, but I'm not happy about the organization. Gift wrap, a generational talent. And the thing that's really shitty is at the time this allegation came out, the NHL did not strip the Blackhawks of multiple first-round picks or anything in general. They just slapped them on the wrist and said, pay $2 million in fine and be on your day.
Right, and basically just get rid of Quenneville.
Yeah, and the only member from that allegation team that's still there is Rocky Wirtz, because he owns the team.
Well, right, and no one's going to fire the owner. Although if you're Dan Snyder, that might be another issue, but that's totally different. But even still, I mean, I totally get where people are saying it's rigged, and I even think to some extent that it is. And it's like, okay, Gary Bettman, when you have the draft lottery, why don't you have the lottery live when you actually draw the actual numbers to actually show what team goes where?
Yeah, and the NHL tries to justify it by sending out a 10-minute video, 15-minute video of saying, okay, Scott, let's put the lottery balls in here. And then they read the cards, they read the numbers off the ping pong balls, and they go 1, 5, 13, 9. Scott, who has that combination? Chicago. That's how they determined that. Why don't they do what they did 5-6 years ago? Remember when they had a few years ago during the Darlene draft where any of the teams in the top 15 had a chance to get the first overall? Yeah. And it was Carolina was the 11th spot at the time, and they moved up all the way up to the number 2 and took Svechnikov. I wish they brought back that system. That to me was interesting because they were at least able to secondhand guess, who's going to take the player, whether it was Austin Matthews or whether it was Darlene or Heishier, or it doesn't matter. Regardless how people do the draft lottery, that's the system they should have went with. But unfortunately now, even if Buffalo in this case were to get Bedard, they were getting no higher than number 2. Right. And unfortunately, the system they have now is a piece of shit. And they just all of a sudden magically say, oh, Chicago, you're going to get the number 1 pick, even though you were the 3rd best odds, and they somehow, quote-unquote, correctly tanked, even though it completely contradicts what Gary Bettman said back in January, where he said, we set up a system where nobody tanks. Yeah. You're a fucking liar.
Yeah, well, then again, Bettman always has been. So, I mean, in Chicago, really, I'm like, you really should not have an incentive to tank. You really shouldn't.
Yeah, Anaheim would have been such a great fit for him. Imagine playing with Trevor Zegras. Oh, my God.
Oh, picture the LA versus Anaheim rivalry. That would have been even better.
Or how about Columbus playing with Johnny Hockey and Patrick Laine? That would have been great, too.
That would have been a great draw for a small market team.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, but of course, Chicago, let's give you the biggest player in 10 years to come out. It's like, Really?
Fucking assholes. I don't feel like the Blackhawks deserve that pick at all.
No, they don't. They don't.
It's disgusting. And the fact that the NHL want any team that will profit, that's who that team should go to. But that's what I don't understand with the theory behind the whole big market thing. Because last year, Montreal is a big city in Canada, not in the United
like
States.
second biggest.
At least, yeah, behind Toronto. And then I think the year before that was the 2021. Yeah, it was Buffalo. That's a small market city. What was wrong with that?
Right.
And then 2020 was the New York Rangers. That was a fuck up of its own lottery, if you remember, during the pandemic. Oh, we're doing the top 2 picks, and we're giving the first overall pick to a team that's in the playoffs. What kind of system was that?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, if you want to do it like in one way, do it like the NFL. Worst team gets the best pick. Best team gets the worst pick. There you go for round 1.
The only difference is the NFL is very set up differently. Like, I can understand the NFL doing it because the NFL, you're playing 1 game a week. But, like, these guys are playing 3, 4, maybe 5 games a week, and most 3. So, I don't know. They're always traveling and stuff like that. It's very hard to tell, and it's very hard to, to screw, something up like that. But, no, but it's fucking bullshit that a generational talent like Connor Bedard, who I think he deserves better, and he's going to a shitty team with no players whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, all of a sudden, the Blackhawks are going to be fucking relevant. And you know what's even more disgusting? Listen to this. And I found this on Twitter, and I want to share this with you. This is from Ben Pope. He works for the Chicago Sun-Tribune. He says, and I quote, "The Chicago Blackhawks have already sold $2.5 million worth of season ticket plans for next season, 23-24, in the 1.5 hours since winning the #1 pick for Connor Bedard, including more than 500 new full season fans." So they made more money
like the NFL.
than the fine that the Blackhawks got 2 years ago by the NHL.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It is so fucked. And what's even more embarrassing is Connor Bedard is PK Subban's second cousin.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea.
No, I didn't even know that either.
It's fucking believable, man.
So,
No.
I was going to say, Trainer's in the chat. He's like, so which NFL trip are you guys doing? Cincinnati, Philadelphia, or both? We'll talk about that later.
We'll definitely talk about that later for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's this whole thing is just leaves a really sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And let's not forget about the butchering that Kevin Weeks left out on with the whole, come right back from commercial, as you will see either Anaheim or Chicago, which completely thinks, holy shit, he just basically said the league just rigged the lottery.
Right.
Wow, they butchered that so bad.
Yeah.
So, and people used to theorize, the league is not rigged, and lottery's not rigged. Now it's pretty much confirmed that the NHL Draft Lottery is indeed rigged.
And just look at my Facebook feed. One of my former coworkers I used to work with already picked up tickets for the Bills and Eagles. So I'm like, Jesus.
Wow, that was fast.
That was quick.
He's probably a season ticket holder for the Eagles.
Well, he goes to he's kind of doing the same thing like we are, where basically we go to where we're trying to go to road games every year. He apparently has been trying to go to like every road game every year. So
That's quite the dedication, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, good for him on that. But I was gonna say, damn, that's pretty quick. But still, it's like, and then you look at ESPN. It's like, how did ESPN know Chicago was getting the first pick before they even announced it?
I don't understand that.
I would love to know who leaked that information out.
I would love that too.
So talk about broadcast screw up on that. But good Lord.
Yeah, this topic is pissing me off because of the fact that a fucking bunch of pedophiles got the first overall pick. Fucking assholes.
Yeah. And then, of course, they purposely tank, and they didn't even tank correctly, and they still got the first pick.
Yeah, and by trading Taves and Kane, that was your automatic go-to. Even Kyle Davis pretends to act like, I didn't expect that to happen. Bullshit! He
did.
You probably knew you were getting it. He had that little stupid fucking smirk on his face, too.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I think I just won the lottery. Yeah, watch the Blackhawks go on a fucking spending spree for top 6 forwards in the free agency market or via trade. I guarantee you the Blackhawks are going to do that now that they got friggin' Bedard.
Yep. And then what would be even funnier? Watch their team get decimated by injuries so bad that they're dipping into their ECHL lineup. That'd be hilarious if that happens.
You might be right on that, but Chicago, man, holy shit. Now they're going to be really good in the future again.
Yeah.
Like, can we have someone else get a chance to be good for once, like Anaheim or San Jose? But no, the NHL has to give the first overall pick to their moneymaker pedophiles.
Yeah. Anyways, what we'll do for the last 6 minutes or so in the first half of the show, let's get off of that because I'm sick of talking about the Blackhawks right now. Just like your body is.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, it seriously was. But let's talk about something different, and that is Gerard Gallant got the axe, and so did his assistants, Mike Kelly and Jim Migley. So
I saw this coming a mile away. I don't expect anything different from the New York Rangers because here's my issue with the New York Rangers. They made up all, and this is something you may have noticed in a trend, is the Rangers had a really good future, and I've said it for a couple of years. Yeah. The New York Rangers were going to be a very good team for a long time to come. I've said that.
Right.
I came out on record and I said that. And I thought, okay, they got a good team. They made the conference finals a year ago, and they lost in a 7-game series with Tampa Bay, or 6 games, whatever it was. And I'm thinking, okay, Igor Shesterkin's a good goalie. Jacob Trouba's starting to become on his own. Same with Keandre Miller.
Tampa's a tough team.
Yeah, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Strider. And then all of a sudden, the New York Rangers have all of the assets in them, and then it's just like, boom, let's just go after Patrick Kane. What did that do for you? What?
Nothing.
The actual... Exactly.
Actually, nothing, because they got smoked by Jersey.
Yeah, and that did nothing for you. How about trading first-round picks for Weimar Tarasenko? How about trading another first for Patrick Kane? Rangers, you should have just stayed the course. You should have just stuck with your farm system, and you would have been totally fine. But no, you have to go and trade all your assets for 2 veterans who are almost out of their prime. Patrick Kane, who only said that he wanted to play for the Rangers.
Right, and look what happens. 110-point season, a 107-point season. You're in the playoffs both seasons, and guess what? You're canned. It seems to be the course in New York.
I'm starting to think the Rangers are this big trending joke every year. They're right up there with the Bruins. They really think about how the Rangers in the last few years have made a long stretch. And it's funny because the Rangers to me are a very good team on paper, but they went desperate. They got desperate in the trade deadline, knowing New Jersey was getting better with Timo Meier, knowing Carolina was getting better regardless, no matter how many deals they make, whether it's getting Shane Gostisbehere or Jesse Puljujarvi. Carolina is just right now they're a very good team, and they know how to build through the draft and trades and free agency, whatever. But the Rangers, however, they're just doing what they did, and this is what got to prevent Henrik Lundqvist getting a Stanley Cup, and that is they threw away their picks like candy for guys that are in the age of the cusp of being out of their prime. Like for example, trading for Rick Nash back in 2012. He was 27 at the time of the deal, or 28, and then he got washed up in a few years. Rick Nash was nowhere near the same when he left the Rangers.
Yeah,
he was traded, and he went to Boston, and then he just completely became a disparate. Yep. So, in general, sometimes even if you have the best team in the NHL, like the Boston Bruins, who went all in for these guys, now the Bruins are going to be in cap hell, and they're going to have issues. The New York Rangers are not anywhere different than what the Bruins are going through right now.
Right. And the thing about the Bruins, they're going to probably lose. They might be losing Bergeron after everything's all said and done with retirement. So,
yeah. And what's even scarier is the Rangers are looking at, and I've already heard reports about the New York Rangers. One being Mike Babcock was an option.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, Mike Babcock was brought up. Patrick Waugh was brought up as another option. Peter Laviolette was another one being brought up. But the one that really threw me off, and I said, if they do that, they are so fucking stupid and just pure desperation, is Mark Messier.
Oh, God.
Yeah, think about that. Mark Messier to coach the New York Rangers.
No.
I'll
take Laviolette as like my front runner.
If I'm a Rangers fan right now, I'm looking at Patrick Waugh.
it could be interesting. I mean, he did put some fire in the teams he's coached before.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he got the Avalanche started.
Yeah, he did. He did. Not only played for them, but also coached them. So, and I remember a few times he wanted to fight people on the bench. So,
Yeah. I will laugh my ass off if the Rangers decide to hire Messier as the coach. I will laugh hysterically.
that would be beyond stupid for them to do that.
Yeah, and what's next? If you hire Mike Babcock, he's going to allegedly kick players too?
Yeah, really. He doesn't
Yeah, so-
exactly have a great track record himself.
So why don't they get someone that's like up and coming, like Rikard Gronberg over in the Swedish league? Why don't they get someone like him? Why don't they get somebody that has somewhat of a coaching experience, like an assistant coach from another team that's looking to be ready to be a head coach, like Andrew Burnett from the Devils? That would be a perfect choice. But the problem with that is that Burnett is under contract for 2 more years with the Devils. Like when Lindy Ruff was hired by the Devils, he was an assistant for the Rangers with I think with Gerard Gallant, and then all of a sudden now, he's now his own man in Jersey, and look where they're at now. They're in the second round playing the Hurricanes in the second round of the playoffs. But the point I'm trying to make is the Rangers, no matter what they're going to do, they're going to fuck this up no matter what they do. They're going to be name chasing. And I've watched the Rangers my whole life, and I can tell you, they are going to find ways to fuck this up.
It would not surprise me because it seems like they always do. So it'll be a fun ride to see what happens with that. But that being said, we do have one other comment here so far, and our long lost friend Torcasio is in the chat.
Oh boy, he probably wants.
Vinny, 12-5 early prediction. Well, Vinny, call in. We're going to talk football in the second half here. So
Yeah, schedule wise and everything.
yeah, so give us a shout. But that being said, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side. It's all football the rest of the way, so stay with us. Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It's your Wednesday night uncensored, unfiltered, and unafraid sports show. You still up? This episode of Buffalo After Dark starts now. All right, welcome back to the second half of Buffalo After Dark. It's Tom, it's Bob, and it's all football the rest of the way. So that being said, if you want to give us a shout, 929-205-6099, we'll get you on the air. You'll get to talk with us. And we do have some breaking news at 8 o'clock tonight, right when we were starting the show. The NFL schedules have finally been released. Now, yes. And the funny thing is, we knew about this beforehand because the entire schedule was leaked probably around 4:30 today, but
Well, to be fair, there were some quote-unquote leaks, but we didn't know what the games were going to fall. Now we know what the games are going to fall in. So now,
Yes,
because the
we
schedule's
do.
out, we can start making plans for our next trip and down the road, which obviously we'll talk after the video. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time this year.
Yep, and of course we'll have the copy of the schedule up on the site as soon as we can. But let's kick it off because basically with what's going to happen for the Bills, Week 1, September 11th, they are going to be playing at the New York Jets.
Yeah, 2 things. 1, that's going to be my 31st birthday. Happy birthday to me at
Happy
that
birthday,
point.
you old fuck.
Yeah,
although I got 10 years on you because I turned 41 in July, so.
yeah, happy birthday, you old fuck.
Anyways.
Hey, right back at you. Love you, man.
Same here, man.
What's I gonna say? Oh yeah. So Bills Jets, Week 1 at MetLife Stadium. That's a Monday night football game. So 2 things: 1, I'm turning 31 on that day, and B, I might be going to the Jets game with my cousin Matt the Steamroller Frevola.
Oh, we're going to talk about him before the end of the show today. So, as we
Yeah,
have some fun stuff we want to talk about there. So,
he's already flashing the camera at my face. He's just like, maybe I could try to get down to the field or whatever. And I said, Matt, you don't have to go that excessive. Because he's been talking to me about like for years to go to a Bills Jets game with me. And I
right.
said, all right, fine, let's go to a fucking Bills Jets game.
Yeah. So, that'd be fun to see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, congrats to your cousin, by the way, too. We'll talk about him before the end of the show, but we'll do that. So,
but yeah, Aaron Rodgers versus Josh Allen. That's gonna be a good game.
that's a good start for the season. So glad to see that. Week 2, us versus the Raiders. That's a win for us.
I think the Bills are gonna win the first 5 games.
Yeah. Week 3 against Washington. Well, we whooped their ass last time they were here.
Yeah, true, but it's
I was
Washington.
there for it, so I remember seeing that.
I'm not worried about Washington.
Yeah, me either.
Miami. This
Week
one's
4 will be our actual first test.
Yep, week 4 against Miami. I think they're going to win this game. And no, it will not be in Florida this year because of hurricane whatever. Because that, like, September last season, if you remember, that was, like, during hurricane season when they played that game. Now, they don't have that excuse.
Yeah, exactly. So we get to face Miami at the end of the season, too. But then, week 5, it's where the Bills go across the pond. Over to London.
Yep, to play the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep. Good old Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the stadium that's basically what they decided to do the new Bill Stadium after, in a lot of ways. Which, they already broke ground on it this past week, so.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, actually, as of yesterday, they already have stuff, ground and everything getting cleared out.
Oh, wow, there you go.
They didn't waste any time. And Thurman Thomas's company is doing part of it.
Oh, good job, Thurman.
Yeah, he's got a construction company. He's done some projects at the airport before here in Buffalo. So,
well, Thurman's a good guy. That's for sure.
Yep. So, yeah. So you got a couple contracts with that. Good stuff to see. But week 6 is going to be interesting. Us versus the Giants.
Oh God! And it's a Sunday night game.
Yes, here in Buffalo.
God, fucking damn it! I'm surprised that game is not during the day. Because I genuinely thought that the Bills were going to play this game during the day. And my boss at my job is a huge Giants fan. So I might be placing a bet on that game with him. Okay. So we'll see.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Then, of course, week 7, we're in New England.
Week 7, me and my wife were there last December. Great time overall for the Sunday Amazon Prime game.
Yep. And week 8, we play the Tampa Bay Bucks
on Amazon Prime. Why the fuck did they pick the Buccaneers to play that game?
Yeah, seriously.
Why didn't you pick the Bucks? Why didn't you pick like the Jets or like the Patriots or the Dolphins? But no, we have to choose the Buccaneers.
That one makes no sense.
But then again, that's probably another one either way.
Yeah. But then, week 9. Cincinnati.
Against the Bengals.
And we will likely be there.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, we still have a lot to talk about.
Yep. It's one of the options.
Yep. Let's see. Week 10 on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. Ooh. This is another interesting game. Yeah. So you're telling me the Bills will have 3 straight primetime games?
I don't remember the last time that's happened.
I don't either.
It's been a long time.
I don't either. But whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah, same here. Then I'll take it. 11, yeah, we play the Jets again.
Yep, and then week 12 against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
3 days after Thanksgiving.
Yes. The other option we may be going to. So we may be looking at that. And then the nice thing is we actually have a late bye week this time around because it's week 13.
It may be beneficial to Buffalo, if you're being completely honest, because the last time when they went on the bye last year, after we came home from the Kansas City trip, they played like absolute ass on offense.
They did. So, I mean, having it later in the season, I mean, well, me personally, I like later bye weeks anyways, but at the same time, it gives the team a week to rest up. So you figure, especially since it's going to be the seventh toughest schedule in the league this year, you're going to need that.
Yeah, definitely. Why don't you read week 14 and I'll read week 15?
Yeah, the Bills go to Arrowhead. They're going to be playing the Chiefs
again.
Yep.
Yeah.
As for some reason, the Chiefs never come here.
Fucking scheduling. Maybe in the playoffs they might. Who knows? Week
a fucking regular season game here for a change. Although Arrowhead was cool in October, I know we enjoyed it. But Jesus Christ, send the Chiefs here to play a regular season game for a change.
Really, for once. And it's been like 3 years since they played in Buffalo. Come on, change it up. Anyway, week 15 at 4:25. This is America's game of the week, as they do on Fox every year, against the Dallas Cowboys, and that game is in Buffalo.
Nice.
And the funny thing is, I might be going to this game with my coworker, who, again, my boss is a Giants fan, but my other colleague is a behemoth Cowboys fan.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me know if you come up, because, I mean, I'd be glad to join you guys, and we'll probably freeze our ass off in the snow just like we should in December, so it's all good.
Oh, dude, fuck yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I've done it before. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I haven't done yet is gone through a table, but other than that, I have done the bowling ball shot before, though.
I didn't either. Don't worry about it. I didn't get it either.
Yeah. Last time we did that home opener, we ended up scorching some guy's lawn after paying $25 to park on it. So I remember that too. You can see the burn marks after.
Dude, I would love to go back to Buffalo this year.
Yeah, good stuff. And then week 16, we go out west. We play against the Chargers
on Peacock.
Yeah.
What? That's
what the hell are you putting it on that for?
Who says, let's put an NFL game here? Where are we going to put Peacock? Like, why? Yeah. Why did you pick Peacock? Like, why didn't you just put that on, like, regular TV? Why didn't you just put that on, like, YouTube Direct TV? Right. Just anything. Why?
Right. And bad enough, Peacock's one of those paid streaming services like some of the others, but Jesus, why there?
I've never used Peacock, and I don't know why.
Me either.
All right. New Year's Eve is the New England Patriots in Week 17 in Buffalo.
Good. About time they play here in January, end of December.
Well, to be fair, they came in January, and the Bills blew them out.
Well, good. We can blow them out again. And then what we do is we wrap up the regular season, against the Miami Dolphins.
That's going to be a game that could be flexed as a primetime game. Mm-hmm. I would imagine, especially if later down the road, if it's competitive, the AFC East could be very wide open.
Yep, for sure. And the interesting thing is, tickets are already available for the preseason. So week 1, we play Trevor's favorite team, the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, really? So who's the opponent? Since I never see this.
So we play at home against Indianapolis. We play in Pittsburgh in week 2, and we play in Chicago in week 3 of the preseason.
Okay, it's pretty random.
Yeah.
Indianapolis Steelers in Chicago.
Yep.
Well, you probably would go to that game, to be honest with yourself.
I would. I mean, Pittsburgh's 4 hours away from Buffalo. I mean, that would be an easy trip down there and back. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that would fall in play here, of course, but we don't know that yet.
Right. Anything can happen. But yeah, I was gonna say, before we keep going with the schedule a little bit, it is 1-0 Devils with about 3:11 left in the first. So from the last check at NHL.com. But
you're like an hour behind, buddy. It's 2-2 at the end of the second.
Oh, this hasn't even updated yet.
Yeah, that probably explains it. That probably explains it.
Yeah, it's like weird because it's still stuck on that. But anyways, I was going to say, 7th toughest schedule. What do you think?
You know what? Honestly, I welcome it. Because, you know what? If these many talking heads who, for some reason, are just starting to disrespect the Bills by saying the Dolphins are the favorites of the AFC East, the Jets are the favorites of the AFC East. Like, hello, Buffalo still has Josh Allen.
Right.
So, and they also still have Stephon Diggs. They still have that stellar defense. What the fuck are you talking about? You really think a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers is going to just carry the Jets to the fucking Super Bowl? And then,
Yeah.
God forbid, if Tua turned the ball over, does another concussion, then
Which will
God
probably
knows
kill him at that point.
which will probably kill him. And I don't want to say that, but that's reality of the situation because the Dolphins have already fucked him up big time, and he's committed to them now. So if you want to go out there, hit your head, die, I mean, it sucks to say that, but
Yeah.
so be it. You signed up for it.
Very true. Very true. But that being said, I was going to say we had a chance to see some of the leaks with other games in the NFL this year that came out a little bit earlier today. And I was going to say, what do you think of some of the matchups overall?
Regarding the league in general, I would definitely say the Eagles this year alone have a very good set of interesting games, like Week 11 or Week 12, I think it was, Philly versus Kansas City, and then Christmas Day against the Giants. That was one that is really interesting to me. No, it's very interesting, and there's a lot of games with Kansas City, but the one I think that really stood out to me was the home opener against the Lions. That to me was like, that's a very bold, game to choose as a starter. You're picking the Lions over, the Cowboys or the Dolphins or the Bills or the Bengals.
And good for Detroit because, I mean, that team turned itself around last year in the second half of the season, and they just barely missed the playoffs. And Campbell's got that team playing pretty well.
I agree 100%. I think the Lions are going to be here for a while to come. So there's still a lot of hope in play. So we'll see where it goes. And then one game that also stood out was Chiefs versus Jets on in Week 4. That game's at MetLife, and the Jets and Chiefs are playing in that SNF game. And this would be the Jets' first SNF game since 2011 when the Jets had Rex Ryan.
Yep. And then think about this one, too. Sunday, September 10th will be the first ever career start for Bryce Young as Carolina plays Atlanta.
That's not a bad competition.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And then, I mean, Baltimore will probably win against Houston because, of course, Lamar Jackson there. But at the same time, think about it this way. It could be very interesting to see how C.J. Stroud will match up against one of the better defenses.
I agree, but you know what? The NFL is a massive crapshoot with outside the elite teams like Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Philadelphia. It's a massive crapshoot. San Francisco's got some interesting games as well. I think they have one in the middle of the year against Dallas, and then they have one. I think if I remember correctly, I think I saw something that said that the 49ers are going on the road to start the season against the Steelers.
That is true. That is true. It'll be a 1 p.m. start. So basically what's going to happen is be interesting to see if Brock Purdy gets a start coming back after that injury, or what's going to happen also with the Steelers with Broderick Jones getting a nice little test going up against Bosa, Armstead, and everybody on that defense.
I have no idea. But as far as I know, I think that's going to be an easy win for San Francisco.
Yeah. Although the boring game of the day for the opener, Arizona versus Washington.
Meh.
Yeah, exactly. Then of course some of the others, Cincinnati versus Cleveland. So that's usually a pretty interesting one to take a look at. Then of course the NFC North, Green Bay versus Chicago is the home opener. So
you know what? It'd be a good test for Green Bay because Jordan Love is now going into what's it called? Yeah. Green Bay is now going into a post-Aaron Rodgers era, and they have to, work with Jordan Love. And if he exceeds, great. Then you extend him. If he doesn't, then if he turns into a flop after sitting behind Rodgers for 3 years, then chances are then you may as well just, tank for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, exactly.
There are going to be teams that are absolute ass this year that are going to tank intentionally to try to get the first overall pick. Like, remember when the Jets did it a few years ago when they tried to get Trevor Lawrence and they fucked up so bad?
Yeah, that was great. They couldn't tank right.
No, they can. But I will say that the same thing is almost going to happen this year. Imagine, though, if, let's say for the sake of argument, Miami tanks and they get rid of, Tua. There was even a rumor going around that if Arizona sucks enough, there's a chance that they may trade Kyler Murray next offseason and then try to get Caleb Williams as the first overall pick.
Yeah, realistically could possibly happen. An interesting matchup out west. Jimmy G gets his first start in a long time, actually. He's going to be starting for Vegas against Denver.
Okay, that's an interesting one. And they're playing the Chiefs on Christmas Day.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy G will get smoked by the Chiefs, but...
Yeah, I think I saw another game, too, where it said something like the Ravens are playing on Christmas as well.
They might be. I would have to take a look at the full schedule, but it is going to be interesting to say the least. And then, of course, going back to Chicago versus Green Bay real quick, Justin Fields, he's going to have DJ Moore for him now.
Listen, Bears are on the right track, and I've said that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, they are a lot better than they were a few years ago, so...
Yeah, I said that about Detroit, and I said that about Chicago.
Yep. But here's an interesting home opener to watch, though. The Philadelphia Eagles play the New England Patriots, and the Patriots are actually going to honor Tom Brady.
I could have sworn that game was against Miami in week 2.
I mean, it is going to come up, but just think about it, though. Tom Brady has a homecoming after he left the Patriots for the whole little contract issue with Belichick and everybody.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, the Patriots, I think, aren't they like retiring his number, or are they honoring him in like the Ring of Honor or something like that? Because I didn't really look into it.
They said they're honoring him, but I haven't heard if they're going to retire his number or what they're going to do with it yet. It's just that's the only thing that's really come out today. So
I guess so. I think if anything, they're going to retire his number. I mean, I mean, Tom Brady deserves it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then of course we'll see what happens with Mac Jones with Bill O'Brien running the offense now. So.
Oh, God.
It can't be worse than Matt Patricia being there.
The Patriots are a mess. Period. They literally have nothing going for them right now. They can't win with Mac Jones. They sure as hell can't win with Bill O'Brien. The Patriots don't have what they used to with Tom Brady. They don't have it anymore. They're done. Mm-hmm. They know they are. They're going to be mediocre. And maybe if the Patriots suck enough this year, maybe they might tank for Caleb Williams.
Right. So. Who knows what'll happen there? But on the flip side, though, I mean, overall, it seems like just like with anything we've looked at to this point, it's a pretty interesting schedule. So we'll just have to kind of take it as it is. But I mean, on our side, after the video is done, I mean, we'll have some stuff to talk about for our upcoming trip for 1 or possibly 2 games. But we'll see what goes on there. And then, really, what I wanted to do is, since we've gone through pretty much everything, and we're actually almost already done with the show tonight, but we still got about 9 minutes left. But how about your cousin Matt the Steamroller Frevola whooping the living shit out of Drew Dober in the first round?
I gotta tell you, I was so happy that I was right about that fight. I'm not the biggest UFC guy. I will come out and say that.
Yeah, me either.
But I will do anything to support Matt. And for those of you who are watching right now that don't know or anything about him, Matt the Steamroller Frevola is a lightweight fighter in the UFC. And he's my first cousin on my mom's side. He was my late Aunt Maggie, and she died 20 years ago from cancer, but irrelevant. So that's her son. So he's my first cousin. So when we found out about 5-6 years ago that he was going to be in the Contender Series in the UFC, he got a contract from Dana White. He tried to just skyrocket it in the UFC, and he went from this normal nobody that was serving in the military to fighting, in the UFC, going up against the best of the best. And one of the fights that he just encountered with was against Drew Dober, aka the Crimson Chin, who was at the time the 14th ranked lightweight fighter in the UFC, and if not in the world. And everybody was betting against Matt to lose that fight because of the reputation that at the time Drew Dober had, which was that Drew Dober was impossible to take down, and because of his chin, because it was like steel, like it was almost impossible to take off. And then all of a sudden, it's like the story of the Sword of the Stone with King Arthur, where the sword finally comes off the stone and Arthur is the king of the land. This is the equivalent to me of that, where Matt goes into the situation as the underdog, and that honestly did him a huge favor. Mm-hmm. So they go into the fight, and sure enough, Matty comes in with a godlike punch with the right hook.
Oh, yeah.
the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So it was 4-0 of the first round. It didn't even go the full 3 rounds or anything either. Like some were thinking it might, but yeah, 4-0. That was just a beautiful punch. And then when they showed it on the replay, I was like, "Holy dude, you just got knocked the fuck out."
Yeah, and you know what too? And the funny thing is too is his teammate is Aljamain Sterling, and Aljamain Sterling is another Long Island boy. He's from Uniondale. Now I don't know him as much. I've never met him, but he does train with Matt over in East Islip, or I'm sorry, not East Islip. Yeah, out in like Islip and Huntington and Suffolk County. They all train together because he's in Huntington. He lives in Huntington, so he's training with Ray Longo, Matt Serra, like arguably one of the best like trainers in the UFC in the history like ever. It's the equivalent to like John Kavanaugh for Conor McGregor at that time. But Matt really took a huge stride with that fight, and it got him to the roof to where he wants to be now. And it's getting to the point where he wants to fight Paddy Pimblett, who's basically Dana White's new golden goose.
Oh yeah. So here's the thing. So after that fight against Dober, a lot of people are saying, do not be surprised if Frevola is in the top 15. And he's been winning some good fights, and he's not afraid to take on anybody. But I had to laugh at Frevola's comments afterwards when he said, "Paddy Pimblett, you suck." So he starts going into that, and then he basically calls Pimblett a bitch. It's like, you can't fight whoever you want. Fight me now. Basically,
yeah, because Paddy Pimblett has a reputation of not only being Dana White's golden goose, but he handpicks his fights to people that are lower than his average weight. It's kind of like it's just for shits and giggles here for a minute. It's the equivalent of like if, let's say, the Incredible Hulk went up against like Rocket or something from Guardians of the Galaxy and beats the living shit out of him. That's the equivalent to that. So I'm not saying that Paddy Pimblett's like the Incredible Hulk by any means, but he's basically going against people that he knows is not as strong as he is. And Paddy Pimblett's a bitch, so he'll just pick and choose whatever he wants. And Maddie, of all people, has been calling him for a year. The first year, it was like, come on, Paddy, let's fight. And then when he really got to start winning fights, he's like, stop being a bitch and let's fight. And then there was an exchange between Maddie and Paddy Pimblett on Instagram, and he basically said, "Hey, man, let's just start a fight or whatever, let's get going." And Paddy Pimblett tries to dodge it by making an excuse by basically saying, and I quote, that it would be a bit of a weird time to call me out when I can't even train. But yeah, I'd fight for Frevola when I'm back. Probably the easiest route into the top 15. And I said, what are you doing? You're injured, and you're all of a sudden saying, I don't want to fight you. And then he comes back and doubles down on it and says, yeah, I'm going to fight Matt Frevola. And I said, where are you going to have the fight? And it's been speculated that it's either going to be at Madison Square Garden in November. I would love to be there. And December at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
That would be fun too. But I mean, on the flip side now, Pimblett did finally accept the fight. So at least that's good after he got called out a million times.
That's going to be a pay-per-view fight. I guarantee you.
Yeah, that would be a good one. And I mean, I was looking at some of the stuff with Pimblett earlier, and there were some funny comments I was seeing online. Actually, I remember I sent you one to your phone earlier, but basically people saying that Paddy Pimblett's got to protect his head by taking punches to the face.
Yeah, Maddie's no pushover. I'll say that right now.
And I'll tell you, like, after he knocked out Dober, how about that Superman punch to really KO him?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not even being biased because I'm his cousin, but it's the fact, like, just as a UFC fighter, because I'm an observer and I like to watch the fights, even though I don't know who the fuck these people are, I like to watch the fights.
Yeah.
But I will say this, not only as a UFC fan, but as a family member, not even being biased here, I firmly believe that Matt could win that fight easily.
He very well could. And Dober was not a pushover either. He's one of the better ranked fighters in the UFC. So the fact that your cousin Frevola dominated him during the entire fight, I mean, he's ready for the big time.
Yeah, because I went over to my parents' house with my wife and we were watching the fight last week and we were just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And what the UFC does is on the day of the fights is they send out on Instagram a lineup card and it's kind of like reading a manga. Instead of going this way like you would where like a normal book
Mm-hmm.
in Japanese and mangas, you have to read it backwards. So you
Yeah.
have the lower ranking fight start and then you go to where top. And then you get to the prelims, it's the main events. It's the main card events in the prelims lineup. And that was the fight that everybody was looking forward to. And boom, best fight. And even got to the point where he was even rewarded by the UFC in quote as the performance of the night.
Yeah, that straight up was. I mean, props to him. I mean, he just totally annihilated Dober. I mean, that was one of the better knockouts I've seen in a while too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to get him on the show and just have him hang out with us, talk about the Jets and Mets and whatever, about his fighting career or whatever. If he's not busy, I'll try to talk him into it and
absolutely.
then go from there. But no promises, though. No promises.
Yeah, right. And then, of course, some of the critics are saying, oh, well, referee Herb Dean stopped it too early. It's like, he was getting his ass handed to him. That was a perfect stoppage.
It's like, dude, Dober was bleeding. He was bleeding.
He couldn't even stand up straight afterwards. He, like, especially, like, when he walked over, he was complaining, and he couldn't even stand up straight. He was, like, wobbling back and forth.
He wanted to rip Matt's head off because they were having words after that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yep, that's Matty. That's Matty. Because when he
Yeah.
gets comfortable, when he's ready to throw those strikes, he's gonna nail you. And that's exactly what happened.
Yep. And he only took, what, like 15 or 20 hammer fists after that, and they finally stopped the fight?
So here's the thing about Matt. He has a degree in jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is like grappling and stuff like that. And he also does mixed martial arts all the time. And again, he's training with Ray Longo. He's training with Matt Serra. His teammates are Aljamain Sterling, who's now the current bantamweight champion of the world. Beating Henry Cejudo in the bantamweight fight in the main event last week in New Jersey. And then his other teammate is Buffalo native Billy Quartrillo.
Nice. And actually, real quick, before we wrap up, your wife is in the chat. She's like, did you see the video the Bills made to promote the games for the season? Classic Bills post.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it
She's
is.
talking. I know exactly what she's talking about because she says to me, "Babe, did you see the meme the Bills put out today?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then she's like, "Check their Facebook page." So I go in, I put my thumb in, and I'm just like, "Okay, let's see what this is about." And I scroll to the Bills page, and there's a picture of Von Miller dealing with chemicals, and it's something like, "Oh, waiting for the schedule to come."
That was great. Great.
That was great stuff.
Yeah.
But in general, I'll do my best, no promises, that I'll try to get Matt on to, Buffalo After Dark.
Absolutely.
But it's almost a guarantee, and I'm still negotiating with him. I might be going to the Jets game with him on Monday night in week 1.
Awesome. Well, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So, and then your wife also says Matt is a beast. Well, he definitely showed the entire world that too. So
I can't wait for him to whoop Patty Pimlet's ass in the fall.
that would be fun.
I would
That'd be
love
fun
to
to
see
see.
him. I would love to see him beat his ass.
Yeah. And watch he'll make the Doughboy shut up for a change.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also bought, if anybody's interested, we'll put a link in the description. If any of you want to buy any of Mac's merchandise, he just released a new set of t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. So if you're interested, we'll put a link in the description where you can get the official Matt Frevola merchandise.
Cool. Good stuff. So with that, we actually got through a lot of stuff tonight. So that being said, it was a quick hour. We're glad you joined us all. Vinny, good to see you again. Trainer, nice to see you as well. We're going to wrap it up. So, of course, until next week, we should be back on Wednesday next week, unless something changes up and I'm stuck on another project again. But other than that, as usual, take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time.
Later.